Hi everyone, Children's Librarian Alicia here again. It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday everybody, we made it. Today I'm going to be recommending some ebooks for kids about outer space, and I'm also going to recommend a fun activity that we can do, and I'm going to tell you a bad space joke to brighten your morning a little bit. So, are you ready? What kind of music do astronauts sing? They sing Neptunes. Okay, if you're still with me, we'll get on to the books. So the first ones that I'm going to recommend today are both books that you can read and listen to on Tumble Books, and they are both nonfiction picture books for younger kids about some of the very famous space missions. So one of them is called 8 Days Gone, and this one is all about the Apollo 11 mission to the moon, and the other one is Earthrise, which is all about the Apollo 8 mission and the photograph that the astronauts took of Earth from their spacecraft, which is quite an iconic photo. Both of these stories are told very simply and told like a story, so they're very accessible, but they also have some additional information at the end for kids who want to learn a little bit more, and they're both really great jumping off points for learning more about space exploration and sort of piquing some interest in space and what astronauts do, and learning a little bit more about all that. So I recommend both of those very highly. If you have a slightly older reader, I'd like to recommend Chasing Space. This is the young readers edition. There's also a version for adults. And this is an autobiography of an astronaut named Leland Melvin. And he had a very, very interesting life. If you're not familiar with his life, he was a football player, okay? Football player who injured himself playing football. And so as his football career came to an end, instead of giving up and just being like, well, that's that, he decided to pursue another dream of his, which was to become an astronaut. So his football career ended, he became an astronaut, which isn't easy. And he ended up heading up to the International Space Station. He's had a really exciting life, so the book itself is a really fascinating read, especially for kids, and it's all about overcoming challenges, dreaming big, finding new dreams when the old ones didn't work out, which is just a great message altogether. And there are also some do-it-yourself space experiments at the back of the book, so there's a little bit of an interactive element as well right there. And this is a good read for the grade 4 or 5 and up. It's a little more wordy than the picture books that we talked about earlier. The next book that I'd like to talk about this is going on a completely different track. This is fiction, a little bit of near future science fiction for our older readers, so our sort of 8 or 9-year-olds and up. And this one's available from Library to Go. It's called Space Case by Stuart Gibbs. And this is the first book in a trilogy so far of books set in a near future where humans have just established a base on the moon, but for the kids who live there, and there aren't very many of them, it is really, really boring. So the main character in this book is a 12-year-old named Dashiell, and he lives on the moon base, and he's just bored out of his mind because kids are not allowed to leave the base and walk on the moon's surface, so he is stuck cooped up inside the moon base all the time. It's so boring. And then there's a murder. That's right. So everyone else on the moon base, including all the grown-ups, think that the death of the base's top scientist was an accident. There was no foul play, but Dash senses that there's something else going on, and he has to try to solve the mystery, even though nobody believes him. So this is an exciting mystery story with a little bit of a science fiction twist. And the 2 books in the series after it are called Waste of Space and Spaced Out. So if you like Space Case, which I think you will because it's a really great book, we did it for one of our Young Readers Book Club programs at the library, and it got very good reviews from our kids. So give that one a read. The next couple of things I'm going to recommend aren't books at all, but they're really awesome. And one of them is a YouTube channel put out by the Canadian Space Agency. And some of you, if you're into space already, you'll know about this already. And the channel is all of the videos produced by Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield while he was up in the ISS doing his time in the International Space Station. So he created a whole bunch of videos, most of them fairly short, so very watchable, talking about different aspects of life in space, like how do astronauts poop in space and what do you eat in space, and he plays music. You know, he's a great science educator and really engaging speaker. So all of his videos are really fun, and you can just click on the playlist and it'll play all of his videos from beginning to end, and you can just watch him goof off on the space station and tell you all sorts of cool things about astronauts. The other thing that I have a link to in the description that I want to recommend is a website where astronauts read books to you from the International Space Station. So how cool is that? It's called storytimefromspace.com. And there's a bunch of videos there of astronauts reading storybooks from the International Space Station. So I had to put that in there because that is just so cool. So once you're done with all that, if you're looking for an activity to do today, my suggestion is how to make doesn't come up very well in the video, how to make a galaxy in a jar, or a nebula in a jar. As a lot of people seem to think it looks a little bit more like a nebula than a whole galaxy. And what this is you just need some water, some paint, and cotton balls. And if you have glitter, well, first, you're a very brave soul. But if you have some glitter, this is a great way to get rid of it. You can pour your glitter into this as well. I didn't have any, but mine turned out pretty good. If you have a jar of pasta sauce or something like that, you can just fill her up, and then you've got something kind of fun to look at and play with. So that's everything for today. I hope that gave you some ideas, and we will see you tomorrow.